So Apple announced a few things at an event on September 7th. This isn't surprising, they're always announcing stuff at the beginning of September. Possibly only matched by the opening keynote of WWDC, their yearly developer conference and software extravaganza, the early September event is by far the most anticipated. That's for one simple reason. This is the event where they reveal all the new and exciting changes they've made to the iPhone. This year was no different. Apple had a bevy of updates to some of their most popular devices, starting with the Apple Watch. The new Series 8 from Apple houses an updated system-on-chip, the S8, which includes a range of new sensors and updated processing capabilities. This has enabled a number of iterative improvements over last year's fully redesigned Series 7. Alongside general improvements to the screen and new watch faces, the Series 8 now includes temperature tracking, noteworthy for Apple's emphasis on using it for retrospective ovulation tracking, targeting women's health in a way that usually is overlooked in tech. Updated gyroscopes and accelerometers combined with barometric pressure measurements and feedback from the microphones also enable a machine learning-driven crash detection, the feature Apple hopes you'll never need, which will allow the watch to detect when you've been involved in a serious car wreck and contact emergency services in the event that you're unable to do so yourself. These improvements start at the same $400 price point as the Series 7, while a new SE model with the same S8 chip and same basic features, though lacking some of the screen updates and constructed of cheaper materials, continues to retail for $250. By far the more interesting Apple Watch news is the Apple Watch Ultra, an enormous 29mm flat-screen device designed for the harshest environments to be useful primarily for backwoods hikers, harsh environment explorers, and divers. Boasting a physical design tailored around the needs of those wearing gloves and a titanium frame that wraps around the front crystal to prevent corner impacts to the screen, the Ultra is a dramatic and possibly divisive design change from the standard watch. However, between its tolerance for extreme heat and cold, its drastically heightened water resistance down to 100 meters, and a new certification as a fully featured diving computer, the Ultra's appearance is very likely to be the last thing potential customers care about. It also features a new dual-band GPS for precise location data even in challenging locales like a dense cluster of skyscrapers or heavy overhead foliage. There's only one version of this watch, which includes cellular connectivity, that will retail for $800. Moving on to headphones, Apple has finally updated their highly regarded AirPods Pro. The AirPods Pros 2s feature the same basic design as the first generation, but include an extra ear tip size even smaller than the 3 sizes originally provided, and now have touch controls on the stem for volume adjustments. They feature the H2 chip on board, which Apple claims enables high-fidelity audio and powers a new active noise-canceling algorithm capable of removing twice the noise of the last generation. Also present is a new adaptive variation on transparency mode that will automatically cut out sudden loud noises, and a host of improvements to the speaker driver and the microphones. The new charging case will now charge off of your Apple Watch charger, in addition to wireless Qi chargers, and includes an integrated speaker for use with the Find My network. The H2 also boasts improved battery, with the earbuds lasting 6 hours on a charge and with the case providing up to 30, and the price remains steady at $250. And that brings us to the iPhone. The new 14 is available in 2 sizes, with the Plus branding seeing its first return since the iPhone 8. The iPhone 14 features a similar build to the 13 and carries over many of the last phone's features, though it does boast a slightly improved screen and a range of improvements to the camera designed to enable better low-light performance, sharper overall images, and smoother video capture. Perhaps most noteworthy for the iPhone 14 is what it doesn't have, however, a list that includes the updated A16 processor or a physical SIM card tray. Powering the 14 is the A15 from last year, specifically the version with 5 GPU cores that was featured only in the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max. And while this represents a slight performance improvement over the vanilla 13, it certainly does result in a confusingly sparse list of upgrades over the last year. The iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max will launch with a more robust series of upgrades, including a new main camera sensor with significantly higher 48-megapixel resolution over last year's Pro. The apparent resolution for this sensor will continue to be 12 megapixels, with each grouping of 4 pixels on the sensor being programmatically combined to dramatically improve the low light and color performance of the camera, but rest assured that in some shooting modes all 48 pixels can capture independently for the best possible clarity. Apple has also changed their photo processing flow, moving their Deep Fusion image combining further forward so the image manipulation occurs on raw images. The screen also sees dramatic HDR improvements, with a momentary peak brightness of up to 2000 nits possible when outdoors, though the more common indoor peak of 1600 nits is less likely to cause temperature issues with the device. The screen also now has an always-on mode, allowing you to see a dimmed version of your customized lock screen without having to interact with the phone at all. The chip doing the driving is the A16, which is now manufactured on a 4nm process, and did I mention the notch is gone? It's replaced by a pill-shaped cutout that Apple has built a new, less obtrusive device notification system around they are calling the Dynamic Island. Both the Pro and vanilla iPhones will have similar updates to their gyroscopes and accelerometers as the Series 8 watch, enabling crash detection on your phone as well. And perhaps the least useful feature of the event that will likely save the most lives, both series of phone will be able to send satellite-connected text messages in emergencies when there is absolutely no cell coverage. This service is apparently not going to be free, but 2 years of it will be included with the purchase of an iPhone 14 or 14 Pro. The vanilla 14 will start at $800, with the Plus at $900, the Pro at $1,000, and the Pro Max at $1,100. That was the event. I watched it live. There are certainly some high points, and while I don't see features like satellite messaging or the entire idea of the Watch Ultra being particularly common, I do see where they address very specific needs in legitimately compelling ways. The improvements to the Series 8, Watch SE, and AirPods Pro were iterative and nowhere near as groundbreaking as Apple's hype machine would make them out to be, but they are welcome, and since the pricing for those devices remained consistent, I have no complaints about them. The iPhone 14, however, is a dog turd. Oh, quick note, this is the bit where I editorialize. That's right, a literal dog turd. It's a lovely new shade of purple, this poop, but that doesn't change the crappiness of its overall being crap. The understanding has been in the air for quite some time now that Apple wasn't going to be releasing a mini version of the 14. They were struggling with battery life and the device apparently just wasn't that popular. The return of the Plus phones is actually welcome for the consistency of their naming. The return of the A15 is not so welcome, nor is the fact that the base model of the iPhone, a position previously held down by the 13 mini at $700, is now the vanilla 14 at $800. Apple apologists will say it's understandable. After all, the vanilla 13 cost $800, why shouldn't the 14 cost the same? And I've got a pretty simple answer for you brainwashed simpletons. It's because the phone actually costs less than $300 to make, and Apple can bloody well price it at $700 and barely even notice the impact to their bottom line. Remember when the vanilla iPhone 11 launched at $700? Because I do. This is nothing but Apple seeing the gullibility plastered across the front of your empty head and realizing that they can take the discontinuation of the Mini as an excuse to jack up the starting price for the entire line. The 14 Pro fares better, with genuinely good improvements to the camera and display. And while naming a pill-shaped cutout in your screen the Dynamic Island just because you've got a few contextual animations for it when people listen to music or answer calls is frankly the most Apple thing I can imagine, it does look to be an interesting optimization of the screen space lost to the Face ID sensor and front-facing camera. And the price hasn't gone up. Simply put, if you were in the market for the Pro iPhone before, you just get a better phone for your money now. Though, seriously, Apple, Dynamic Island? I swear, your marketing department becomes more detached from reality every year. At this point, we could probably use their emails to chart a course to the shores of Valinor. In the end, though, the price change to the vanilla 14 is just that, a price change. The entry point for Apple's single most popular device has gotten more expensive while offering less year-over-year value added than ever. The only solace I can find in this is that with the entry price for the newest iPhones being so high, I can't help but think that means the iPhone SE is officially moving to a yearly update cadence, and we'll see a new one of those early next year. And while I know nobody is going to listen to me, I would implore the iPhone customers out there to wait and buy that instead of the 14. Or even just pick up an iPhone 13 at their newly discounted starting price of $600. The iPhone 14 is a travesty, and it's not worth your money. Let's make this thing the worst-selling iPhone in history.